Hello, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another live video call with myself, Lucy Challenger. I'm the CEO of Polo Tweed, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined today with a lovely, lovely lady called Hebe. Hebe, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining
Good morning. Here is good morning in London. Good morning to you all.
Good morning, good morning. And so Hebe comes to us with this incredible background. She is a professional maternity nurse. She has a background in nannying, but Hebe, perhaps you could tell everyone who's watching, a little bit about yourself, your background, and your amazing career.
Well, Lucy, for everyone who is watching, I was a nanny before for approximately 6 years when I came into a job where the maternity nurse say to me, you should be a maternity nurse and blah, blah, blah. And I say, no, I like toddlers. I like children, bigger children. But I had the training. So 4 years before, I did the training because I was working as a nanny for a family, which the mom became pregnant, and that they would like me to help with the mom. And they pay half of my training as a maternity nurse. So while working as a nanny, I took my training as a maternity nurse. When the baby came, I could help the mom because I had more knowledge. And then was it. And then I continued being a maternity nurse for the same, as a nanny for the same family after the baby grew a little bit.
Okay.
And when
So, sorry, carry on.
When I was in this job where this maternity nurses say, oh, you should be a maternity nurse, not be a nanny and blah, blah, blah. And I say, no, I don't think so. But then I did one booking and I really like it. And I say, oh, I like this. So I decide to change career from nanny to maternity nurse.
Okay,
and that
so
very well with my schedule.
It works well for you. So for people who don't know the difference, what is the difference between a nanny and a maternity nurse?
Okay, so a nanny normally have working hours from whatever early in the morning until end of afternoon, early evening, sometimes Saturdays half day, or work for a family over the weekend to replace their own nanny or the housekeeper, etc. They normally look after children which is older than 3 months. As a nanny, I think is also important that you have training and learn how you can help this child to reach all their milestones. Maternity nurse help mom and baby through the first weeks after the birth. So depends of the client's pocket. Some families hire you for 10 days, some families hire you for a month or 2 months, or just depends of their availability in terms of finance or what they really need. First time moms require more attention because they need more support because they are not so well prepared. So we give full support to moms and baby in the first weeks of their birth. And then from that client, then we come home, we have a break, and then we go to another client.
Okay, so your work will often then as a maternity nurse be at night, overnights as well. You sleep in the baby's room, you help with everything from breastfeeding and bottle feeding, depending on the choice of the mum, and actually do night care, whereas a nanny typically tends not to do so much of that.
So there are two kinds of maternity nurse. One is called maternity nurse, another is called night nanny. I don't know why they have this name, because somebody who do a night nanny is not a nanny, is a maternity nurse who look after a newborn baby through the night. Some families just need the night, some families need the 24 hours. If you are doing 24 hours, of course you are there all day and in the night, and you have a break during the day to catch up with your sleep. If you are just night, you go to your house during the day, You come to the client early in the evening or whatever the hour the client set up for you, and then you do the feeding, the changing, and looking after this baby during the night. Or if the mom is breastfeeding, of course, you take the baby to the mom.
That's amazing. So obviously it can be quite intense for you to be doing those long nights with babies.
Yes, it is. It is. You need to be first prepared mentally for, second, have the knowledge, because you need that. You can't just jump into this job. You are dealing with something very precious, which is a newborn baby life. And unfortunately can exist some complications, and you need to be aware, and you need to have the knowledge to deal with this challenge, not only in the terms of the baby health, but the mom's health, because the mom is still recovering from the C-section, for example. I can have complications. You don't need to be a doctor, but you need to have a little knowledge to say to this mom, you should look for a doctor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As when I had my son, my only son, I had a maternity nurse come, and she absolutely gave me the confidence as a new mum to do the right thing. She didn't take over. She didn't do it all for me. I would say to her, how hot does the bath need to be? When should I stop feeding him? And all these things that I was a busy mum. I didn't have time to read all the books about what to do. I needed someone to give me that confidence to do it and know that my little boy would be in the best hands. And I think that's so amazing that you give women that support, women and parents that support all around the world. That's amazing.
I think it's important that you are a self-confident person. Yeah, because you can't pass confidence if you're not confident in yourself, in the information that you are giving. I always say to clients, I don't know everything, and in the moment I don't know, I will go to my senior maternity nurse group and I will require some information and I find out for you. But I support you as much as I can, and I also, I like to say to clients, I'm not only here to do for you, but help you to do yourself. Because when I leave, you need to do it. And you will need to have the confidence to do it by yourself. So Absolutely. It's important that we not only do for parents, but also guide them, teach them how to do it. And times I see clients which I go and they say, I had a maternity nurse for a month, she left, and I don't know to do anything. So,
it's a big difference.
Only be there, do everything for them.
No, and that's amazing that you empower these families to have that confidence, be it their first, second, third, or twins, or multiple births, which must be even more intense for the families and for you. So you obviously love babies. What do you enjoy most about working with babies and new families?
So you are in the household environment, where is one of the most magical times in the household. There's nothing that can overcome the power of a newborn arriving in the house. It's a very powerful moment. It's a very special moment. Of course, you need to be very diplomatic. There is a lot of things that can be going on behind. Mom is very hormonal. Dad is stressed. Mom is not sleeping, because you need to remember this mom haven't been slept very well in the last months of her pregnancy, because the belly or the back pain, shoulder pain is uncomfortable. So you need to be aware that it's challenge moments. So you need to be very diplomatic, very patient, but above all, it's very magical. And there is a lot of hormones in the air and all that love, and it's magical. It's really magical. And then I haven't find anything in life. I don't have babies myself. I don't have children. So I have all these 64 babies from 64 families which I have been, which are exactly my little babies. I kept in my heart all these very special moments in most of the houses where I have been, where this family arrived with this baby in a car seat, and it's very magical.
That's so beautiful. Such a lovely way to describe those moments, and that you have 64 babies that you have in your heart. That's so fabulous. But you know, going back to that you talked earlier about that stress, you know, that families are going through, and you're going into very intense working environments where, you know, maybe if it's the first child, they're stressed because of that. If they've got multiple children already, then, you know, there's the added element of toddlers or older children running around. And obviously you're working at nights. So how do you cope with the lack of sleep? I mean, surely, I mean, if I didn't have that sleep at all, I would go slightly crazy. So how do you handle it? What do you do from a professional sense?
Okay, so you need to have your contract in place when you go to a client, and your contract needs to state that you are entitled to have a break.
Okay.
The market at the moment in UK, I don't know the other countries, but in UK, most around Europe are around 3 hours break. All maternity nurses are different. Some people like to sleep more, some people like to sleep less. In my contract specific, I have 3 hours and a half. And sometimes if I'm feeling, you know, a little bit more tired when I'm about to sign a contract, I just put 4 hours. Most of the clients understand that. So I particularly like my breaks in the morning. So when the mom is ready, she had her shower, she had her breakfast, then I give the baby to mom. I make sure that everything is prepared, that she doesn't need to come to me. She will have everything in place for dealing with those hours of my absence. You need to be organized. You can't go to your bed and logging into your phone and keep answering messages to people or anything. Don't do that. You need to sleep. You need to catch up with your sleep, because those 3 hours or 4 hours, they are interrupted and not interrupted by any chance. It's for your sleep, it's for your rest. Then you wake up, then you have a shower, have your food, and start working again. But it's important that you be organized. If you are a person who likes to sleep 13, 14 hours a day, probably is not the best job for you. I must say. But you know, the first day when you are absent of work, because for example in my case I take a break between clients, sometimes in the first day when you come back to sleep to work, you are a little bit sleepy. It's totally normal.
Sure.
And sometimes even I can tell you straight away that sometimes you even can have a headache, because you know your body is calling and is saying to you, I haven't slept enough. But after 3 days, your body just responds to that. It's normal to you. You just get used to. It's very normal.
So you must have been, I mean, 64 babies, you've been in a lot of houses, you've been in a lot of situations, and obviously discretion is number one. You know, you keep the moments you've experienced private. You don't share anything that would, you know, make a family uncomfortable, because they are trusting you with their lives, with their baby, you know, everything. But, you know, have you ever experienced anything unusual, or anything that you could tell us, people who are watching, about anything funny that's happened to you in your amazing career? Can you think of any moments that you could share with us?
So everyone is different background. I don't work only in England. I work in a few countries of Europe. I have in US and Singapore. So you deal with lots of different backgrounds. There are funny stories. There's this amazing dad from, he lives in Dubai, but they are from Switzerland. And they like to go on holiday in Switzerland to visit the family and sometimes go to the mountains. So they hire me, and the baby was already 3 months when I did my first trip with them. So I flew from London to Switzerland and I met them there. So the father was very insecure to hold the baby in his shoulder. So I taught them how to hold the baby and how to hold with only one hand. So he could have the other hand to answer the door, to answer the phone, to get the remote control, or get a, you know, whatever he needs. Because he held this baby like this. When he managed, after 2 days of practicing, he cried. He had tears in his eyes because he was so amused. He was a businessman. So of course, unfortunately for him, his phone was very important. and he couldn't do both things at the same time. How he was extremely amused the way that he knew that as a newborn, very little, he could have his baby here next to him and answer the phone as an emergency if he needed it, and was supreme.
You've shared so much with us and you've given us so much insight. So if someone was watching this and thinking, I would really like to become a maternity nurse, what 3 sort of top tips would you share with them? What advice would you give to them?
Your values and your thoughts and your manners, your tics, not your manners, but your tics in your house. You go to someone else's house. You need to play by the rule. You need to play the rules is in that house. If if they wash the dish in a certain way, you can't go there and decide that there is not going to be like that. You need to enter in their world, not they need to enter in yours. Because, of course, everything that can be a dangerous for this baby, of course, you're going to say, I'm sorry, we can't have this here, this cable, electricity cable in the middle of the living room because, we can come with the baby in our arms and trip or anything.
Yeah.
But you need to be very diplomatic. You need to understand that everything you thought that is right, you need to leave in your house. The way you run your whole house is the way you run your whole house. Is not what is going to happen when you go to someone else's house.
Yeah.
Be very patient. You need to be patient. You are dealing with a very special moment indeed, but also very stressful moment. We don't know. Sometimes this mom is in severe pain and she's not telling you. She's not telling you because she's afraid, because she's not comfortable with you yet in the first days to tell how much in pain she is.
Yeah.
So sometimes this mom can be extremely hormonal and, upset and tell you something, that sounds to you not very nice. But you need to have all this, that you really mean that, all these things you need to balance, because the mom and the baby is equal, your focus. It's not the baby have more value than the mom or the mom have more value than the baby. No, both have the same value and you need to look after both. Their mental health of the mom is extremely important in the first few weeks. And it's our obligation to support the mom, to be there for her. So we need to have patience because we don't know what's behind her thoughts. And be very professional. Live your life and your things for your break, for when you have a cup of tea, you make a call, you do your things. Be professional. Have a contract in place. Sign your contract. Make sure your contract is signed before you start the job. Make sure everything, if you have a special request, for example, for a dietary request or anything, make sure that this is all in place. So you don't be there, oh, they didn't got my milk, oh, they didn't got my crackers, oh, they didn't, So it's true, you need to be professional. You are there for work. And despite being there 24 hours, you have your break, you have your days off, you go to your house, you rest, you do whatever you want. When you are inside client's house, be professional. This is what they expect from you. They are paying for a service. You need to deliver the service in the same level that you would like that someone delivered to you service. When you call the man to sort the tap, he doesn't go to sort your tap and leave half done. No. You go and do a proper job. So Absolutely. You need to do the same. I always think it's important, treat the others the same way we want to be treated. So that is very important.
Yeah, very, very important. And I think that professionalism, like you're talking about leaving your own sort of values, as it were, behind in your house is really important. And that's something that transfers into all domestic industries and workers, because you may feel that your house should be a certain way, but you're walking into someone else's home and someone else's life, and you have to follow their guidance and their direction, because if you walk in and say, this is how we're going to do it, X, Y, and Z, like you said, certain things in terms of safety, of course, has to be done, but everything else can be interpreted as per the family's needs. And that flexibility obviously it would be quite challenging for people to do properly. So I mean, you must have faced huge amounts of challenges in your career to date. So could you tell us about a challenge you've specifically faced and how you overcame it? Is there an example you could give us about your flexibility and discretion, or that specific challenge?
Yeah, I'm Christian, for example, and I step in a house where they have a different religion, mm-hmm. and they have extremely different rituals. Mm-hmm. And there are certain times of the day they have their prayers. So I can't be thinking of bother mom or daddy with something when they are in their prayer. So you need to be able to turn around and solve that situation that is not putting anyone's life in risk, and waiting for the right to call mommy or daddy apart and say, oh, this is happening. What do you want me to do? What do you think is the best? Would you like me to do this, or would you like me to do that? So religion is one, I think. General household, because you are dealing with a mom, which is normally, the boss of the house. She have her own kitchen, her little things, and you need to respect that environment, that setup, because it's her setup, and you are not there to make it yours because you're going to leave in a few weeks or in a few months. You need to be, as I say, as a hint from the three things that is more important, being diplomatic, patient, and professional. You need to be diplomatic. You don't want to get in confrontation with your client because they have different views from yours. You just need to be mature to overcome, because it's also a different job than a nanny. So that you are there just for a few weeks. So it's not something that you have to live all your life with that situation. Sure. After a few weeks, you go home. It's fine. You're not going to live there forever. And you're not going to move in. You're not going to get married with that family. So, it's true. So you move on.
Hebe, you're talking about discretion and diplomacy and really understanding about that private nuance that goes on with each family, how to read the room, how to, these are all things that takes time to learn, but obviously maternity nurses have to have skills. They have to have specific approaches to handling the baby, understanding everything from putting a nappy on through to sleep patterns and growth spurts and all of these things. So do you think that training is important? I mean, you've mentioned it earlier already, but do you believe training is important for maternity nurses to have?
Yes, definitely. I was born in Brazil. In Brazil, people teach each other how to look after a baby. Of course, in a professional field, that doesn't work because you need to prove that you are able to, that you are capable to. In India, people teach their children and their grandchildren to look after other children. Same thing that in Brazil, but it's not going to work in a professional field again. So if you don't have the knowledge, how can you do it? You go to work in a shop where you sell shoes. If you understand nothing about shoes, how can you sell it? You're not gonna, the first person who entered, you're not gonna sell for a month one pair of shoes, no matter how much the client needs, because you don't understand the subject. In this case, here you are dealing with something very special, which is life. Life is so precious. There's no money who can life. And unfortunately, babies are very susceptible and, very delicate. And if you don't follow the rules of sleeping pattern, of environment how this room needs to be, how this baby needs to be, which position and everything, you can put this life in danger of losing it. And you don't want this in your shoulder. So you need to have the training. You need to get updated as much as you can because things are always changing and innovating. Sometimes they release the market to have a new medication for colic or a new technique for a massage or this or that. And you need to be updated. You need to know what's going on in the market. So it's not just do the course once in your lifetime. No, you need to read, buy magazines about babies, read books, see videos online, because that is a lot, especially because each baby is different from each other. There's no babies the same. There's no situations the same. They all have a standard, but there's no, so if you are not trained, you can't carry on, unfortunately.
No, you're very right, because every little baby is its unique human being and must be treated as such. And I think people often forget that, because it's this concept that the mother has carried the baby. I know when the baby was inside me, yes, it was my baby, but it didn't really become real until the baby was out. And then suddenly you've got to keep this precious little bundle alive. And there is a huge responsibility which falls on you as a maternity nurse to make sure. And like you say, that training should be refreshed regularly, and there's lots of incredible specific training for nannies and maternity nurses out there. It was interesting because we were speaking to a maternity nurse the other day who came to us, and we've recently launched our e-learning training, which I think you've probably heard about. We've been on the Times and in the Daily Mail, and we've had quite a lot of press coverage recently, which has been quite fun. And she was coming to us. I mean, we don't do specific maternity nurse training because we're not a specialist in that area, but we do teach people about working in private homes. And it goes back to that, discretion, a private house hierarchy if you're going into a house which is fully staffed, and knowing, who the head housekeeper is and who the butler is, and if you're working in a big staffed household, but things through to like traveling, good laundry practice because babies need a lot of laundry happening.
Yes.
And all these skills that you might have, the maternity nurse skills, but you might be terrible at doing the laundry, and you need to know, how can I launder baby's clothes in the most effective way, and ensure that it's hygienic and getting the best results. So the e-learning has been very popular from the nanny and the maternity nurse side because of the sort of the transferable skills that we teach. But going back to e-learning, what do you think are the benefits of maternity nurses doing distance learning? I mean, do you always have to be in person to learn something, or can you, like you said, you would read a magazine or do research? What do you think the benefits of e-learning are for maternity nurses?
You can be anywhere. You can be even on holiday. You can be sick in your bed. It's I think when I'm 50, so when I look 25 years ago, we didn't have internet, the power of internet as we have now. Only companies have computer. Not many people have a laptop at home, or an iPad didn't exist by that time. Smartphones didn't either. So nowadays you can be somewhere in a beach, in your phone, reading, having the print screens of the lesson, of any kind of training. That is a vast, large number of trainings of all sorts of things. If you want to become an electrician, you can become just learning online.
Sure.
I have been seeing people achieving a lot of amazing things online. And you can be anywhere, the time that's convenient for you. You sit down, get prepared, relax, get a notebook, a paper, pen, relax, enjoy the time you are learning. Because learning doesn't occupy any space in your brain. And much more you learn, much more activity you have in your brain, much younger you will have in terms of brain cells and everything. So
you are correct. You are absolutely correct. My 97-year-old grandfather has just finished a theology degree, and before that he was doing his legal degree. And ever since he retired at 72, he has been doing degree after degree after degree, because he believes it keeps his brain young. So yeah, you're right.
So the inactivity of brain work is one of the cause of dead cells. So you don't want that. You want to keep active, and you want to be in an environment where you are able to talk about politics, health, society, music, theater, anything. So of course you want to learn as much as possible. And if you want to learn something about something you like, which is babies, even better, because much more you will know. So
no, It's a lovely thing to keep the brain alive and
Yes.
keep inspiring. And you know, and today has been such an amazing insight into your world. You know, it's quite a specialist world you work within, and a lot of families didn't know it existed. My mum, when I had my maternity nurse work for me, said, I wished I had this when you were born, so that I had this amazing support. She said, oh my, you're so lucky to have this. And you know, my mum was a surgeon. You know, she knew everything about the medical world, but she was just the same as me. She was just overwhelmed and scared and needed that support. So thank you so much for giving this amazing support to the families you work for. It's been such a fab conversation, and I really appreciate your time coming to us. I know that you have a Facebook page which is called Maternity Nurse Care, so if people want to sort of ask you anything or track you down, that's where they can find you. And also, of course, you work with Polo and Tweed, so if people wanted to book you for you know, their baby to be, or you know, any advice or any night consultancy or sleep training, then obviously they can reach out to us directly and we can put you in touch with them. But thank you, Hebe. It's been an amazing conversation, and I've really enjoyed hearing about your amazing career.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. And you know, and everyone who are out there and thinking of pursue maternity nurse as a career, is a beautiful career. It's very enjoyable. It's magical. Always remember to be in health, to be able to mentally be able to go to someone else's house and give your best to the family, to this baby, because there's nothing that can overcome your health. That little life in your arms is magical. It's really
amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm here to any professional who want to pursue the career and would like to ask me a question. Please go to Facebook, Maternity Nurse Care. I'm happy to, you know, give advice to anyone who is out there. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, Hebe. Have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.